So, really grateful, as I was just mentioning, just really grateful to be back with you all. And we'll shift into our practice together and drop in. I'm going to name, hi Joy, good to see you. I'm going to name for today's purpose that, of course, it is 9/11 today. And many of us have pretty strong associations to where we were 20 years ago today. And it just feels like a kind of a perfect day to practice together for, really whatever might be moving within you in relationship to that, or in relationship to any other challenge that you have faced, right? That this is a collective experience of a loss and a trauma, but it also is a marker of what does it ask of us to turn towards something challenging, whatever that might be, that's in your personal arena. And the truth is, right, like life is challenging. It just is, right? It's beautiful, it's exquisite, it's joyful, and it's challenging. It's part of being human. And we absolutely need ways to find reprieve and respite in this world. And I think coming on to our yoga mats can be one of those arenas where we can find that, but it can also be challenging even here, right? Because the body also can carry struggle. Sometimes it's struggle in the form of how our own emotional pain is carried in our bodies, or sometimes it's physical distress, right? A pain in your hip or in your shoulder or in your gut, right? So we find this kind of gentle way of coming toward whatever the contraction is, whatever the distress is. And then also knowing that we have these tools of finding freedom in the breath, finding fluidity in the movement, and that those tools allow us to find spaciousness and even a little bit of transcendence from that contraction. And the quality of transcendence isn't so much about anything that leaves us to exit or lose our connection to whatever that wound is, but to know how to kind of counterbalance it, and to know how to relate to our pain without being swallowed by it. So I was thinking about a quote that I read recently in a book called Heart Yoga by Karuna Erickson and Andrew Harvey. I see one of you nodding, you know this book, right? Yeah, yeah, Terry. And it's a really beautiful book. And Andrew Harvey shares a really profound story at the very end of this book, in which he had an opportunity in his 30s to go interview the Dalai Lama, right? Like, wow, that's a pretty awesome opportunity. And, he's doing his interview for his magazine. And at the end of it, he's like, do I walk away and not ask my burning question, or do I take advantage of this moment? So he turns to the Dalai Lama and he says, can I ask you a personal question? What's the meaning of life? And like you look there, right? You're like, what? Right? What's the meaning of life? And the Dalai Lama says, the meaning of life is to embody transcendence. And, Andrew Harvey, who had spent much of his life kind of studying, spends much of his life studying, Persian poetry and studying spiritual states and so forth, really paused on this. He said it didn't say to transcend the body. It said to embody transcendence. And that there is this way in which, like, what are we doing when we're bringing that capacity to move into a broad state, move into that bird's eye view, really step back and see something from a very spacious quality, and then embody that, bring that right into ourselves, bring that into our hearts, bring that into this very deep, spiritually driven quality to our movement and to our prayer through movement. So that's the invitation today. I will share a poem and we'll go into our own prayerful movements together. This poem, some of you may have read, I posted it a week or so ago on my Facebook page, and you can find it there. And the poem is by John Rodell. And I think it's something that a lot of us relate to. I certainly do. My brain and heart divorced a decade ago over who was to blame, about how big of a mess I had become. Eventually, they couldn't be in the same room with each other. Now my head and heart share custody of me. I stay with my brain during the week, and my heart gets me on weekends. They never speak to one another. Instead, they give me the same note to pass to each other every week. And their notes they send to one another always say the same thing. This is your fault. On Sunday, my heart complains about how my head has let me down in the past. On a Wednesday, my head lists all of the times my heart had screwed things up for me in the future. They blame each other for the state of my life. There's been a lot of yelling and crying, so lately I've been spending a lot of time with my gut, who serves as my unofficial therapist. Most nights I sneak out of the window in my ribcage and slide down my spine and collapse on my gut's plush leather chair that's always open for me. And I just sit until the sun comes up. Last evening, my gut asked me if I was having a hard time being caught between my head and my heart, and I nodded. I said I didn't know if I could live with either of them anymore. My heart is always sad about something that happened yesterday, while my head is always worried about something that might happen tomorrow. I lamented. My gut squeezed my hand. I just can't live with my mistakes of the past or my anxiety about the future. I sighed. My gut smiled and said, in that case, you should go stay with your lungs for a while. I was confused. The look on my face gave it away. If you are exhausted about your heart's obsession with the fixed past and your mind's focus on the uncertain future, your lungs are the perfect place for you. There is no yesterday in your lungs. There is no tomorrow there either. There is only now. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this moment. There is only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your heart and head work their relationship out. This morning, while my brain was busy reading tea leaves and while my heart was staring at old photographs, I packed a little bag and I walked to the door of my lungs. Before I could even knock, she opened the door with a great smile, and a gust of air embraced me. She said, "What took you so long?" All right. I'm going to come onto my mat. One thing I didn't mention before is a strap might be helpful for today, or a belt, or a scarf, a little something. It's just an option, and I always recommend blocks. Okay. So, perhaps needless to say, we're going to start with our breath. And before we do any changing of our breath, there's an invitation to greet your breath, to greet your lungs, to arrive to yourself just as you are. There is only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this breath. And maybe as soon as you bring your attention to your breath, something begins to change, right? That's just how it works. Maybe you've already begun to deepen your breath. Maybe by paying attention to your breath, you've already begun to notice what's going on inside, what you're carrying with you, what's in that little bag that you've packed. And so I invite you to attend willingly to whatever it is that you're bringing with you into this practice, onto your mat. All is welcome here. And I'll invite a few guided breath practices as we begin. The first one is what's called the Ha-kara breath, the Ha breath. And it's just that, it's just a ha, just a sigh. So an invitation to take a nice deep inhalation and let something go with a ha. You might even let your body follow this movement. Let your shoulders lift and let them go. One more like that. And we'll continue to breathe, but moving to a nose-nose breath, inhaling through the nose, maybe letting your arms lift. And exhale. This time with Ujjayi Pranayama. It's a slight constriction of the breath. It's as if you're saying that ha sound, but it's moving in and out through the closed channel. The movement of your arms is just an invitation to create more space. In a moment here, we'll go to our next pranayama. This is Dirga Pranayama. So just letting your palms rest, and I'll invite your hands to your own belly if that's comfortable for you. So this breath practice is going to have 3 parts, and we start, and I'll build it over 3 breaths. We're going to start just by inhaling into the belly. Let yourself expand, back body, front body, rib cage. And exhale. This time it's going to be with a hiss. You can be a little snake-like, that's all right. Second part of this, we're going to inhale belly. Inhale into the diaphragm and rib cage. You can even bring your hands here. Let the side bodies broaden. 2-part exhale. Hiss. Hiss. 3-part inhale. Belly. Rib cage. Chest. Extra sip in. 3-part exhale. Chest. Rib cage. Belly. Inhale, 3 parts, belly, rib cage, chest. Exhale, let something go. And one more like that. Inhale, belly. Rib cage. Chest. Exhale. This time, 3-part inhale through the nose. Three-part exhale through the nose. Inhaling 3 parts. And exhale. Last one. Beautiful. I was sitting on something, I'm just going to remove that. And I'm going to put an invitation out there to just begin to rotate upper body around your legs and your pelvis. Inhale forward and exhale back. Letting your breath guide the movement. And there's a churning quality. And if it's uncomfortable to do this with your legs crossed, you can take your legs out in front of you. It's creating some space for movement, whatever serves you here. And then we'll go in the opposite direction. You might even feel that same quality of opening up through the belly, the rib cage, the heart, and really allowing yourself to let go of some of that baggage. Whatever you're carrying that really isn't serving you. We're just releasing, we're kind of laying down our armor so that there's more space for the open heart. Beautiful. Coming to center, lifting your heart, maybe releasing your spine straight back on the exhale. And then inhale, heart forward, chest forward. Exhale, releasing back. And you can keep your hands on your knees, or maybe you just free your arms here, just allowing yourself to find that wave-like motion through the spine, through the heart, through the arms, which are expressions of the heart. They're the wings. All the way to your fingertips. And then lifting through to center. We'll come into the side body, an invitation to lean into one hand. I'm leaning into my right side. I'm contracting the right side. You can keep the left hand by the hip, or maybe you draw the left arm up overhead and just really feeling into that contraction. And the opening is almost a byproduct, but just really feel how you can squeeze into that right side body. Give that kidney a little massage, intercostals of the rib cage. And then let's come on up and over, switching it out. And again, your right hand might stay by your hip or might come overhead. It's really giving that left side a good loving hug, a little squeeze there. Beautiful. And lifting back to center. This time, an invitation to take right ear towards your right shoulder. And just allowing yourself to pause. You might take your right hand under your head for support or around. We're not yanking, we're not pulling. It's just encouraging. You might reach the left hand away. Again, that kind of wing-like motion. And then sending your breath into the left side of your neck. Like there's a little balloon there that you can expand with the breath. Lovely. Softening, returning to center, and we'll switch it out. Left ear, left shoulder. Maybe left hand supports or comes around. Maybe the right arm reaches. Ah. And then slowly back to center. And for a moment before we go into more full body movements, just sense the impact of the breath practice and the spinal awareness, the spinal movements. Good. I'm going to turn to my side here, and an invitation to take your legs out in front of you. And we're going to slide the knees kind of side to side here. So my hands are back behind me initially for support. I'm just going to let the legs go to the left, to the right. Just finding the kind of natural range of motion and comfort and rhythm. You might pause on one side and let the opposite arm lift up and follow. Breathing into the side body, the hips, and then we'll sweep the arm back down. Let's go to the other side. Maybe you pause there. Maybe the arm lifts this time. Maybe the gaze tracks behind you. And then coming back and around. So you can stay with what we're doing, or maybe you explore moving the legs side to side, freeing the arms. Just allowing yourself to begin to find your way into what is the core action, that core support that allows this movement to have its kind of balance here. So you'll begin to feel into your side bodies, very likely. And I'll even add on another element if you like. You can lift through the upper leg. You might even pause there, right? And then let's go the other side. And maybe you lift that upper leg. I like to rotate my wrists, just keeping the arms fluid, just playing a little bit side to side. It's your own little transcendence, right? We'll do a little dance here. Good. One more each side. How about? And then coming back to center. And per request, although it was already built into our sequence, let's come on down to our backs and get into our core. So as you arrive, taking a moment just to sense and feel your back body onto the earth, different relationship to gravity. And then from here, an invitation to take both legs up overhead and to take your hands behind your head, giving that support. You can lift through your head, your shoulders, finding that strength in your legs. And I'm going to give options here. So one option is that we're going to lower the left foot and hover, keeping both legs straight. Now, if you're here and your low back is feeling uncomfortable, plant your left foot down. If your low back's okay with the movement, keep that leg extended, hovering. You might even free your hands and lift a little higher, connecting to breath, whatever shape you're in. And then lifting left foot, maybe the hands behind the head for a moment. And then we lift through the upper body. We're going to find the other side. So the right foot is going to lower. It might hover. You might plant that right foot down, really listening to your low spine. You might reach the arms forward, finding your breath. And then perhaps hands behind the head, lifting the right leg. From here, lifting through the upper body and just a few leg lifts and lowers, and your legs can be straight or maybe you bend them, kind of pivot here with the legs, whatever is most supportive. You can also tap the toes, right? So really feeling what is going to be accessible and give just the right challenge for the core here. One option is to place hands underneath the low back, right? So listening to your body, just a few more breaths. And then lifting both legs up. For a moment, just rest the upper body down. You can bend the knees, maybe you rock the hips in one way and the other way. Before we continue. So we're going to extend the legs up. This time, lifting through the upper body, lowering through the left leg, maybe the foot's down, maybe the foot's extended, and then twist to the right. And we're going to pause and hold. And then we'll come back through center, left leg to lift. And we're going to twist to the left. We're going to lower the right leg, maybe the foot's down, listening to your body. And then we're going to go side to side. Just a few here. And again, you might tap one foot down. You might keep the legs straight. You might bend at the knees, a little more traditional, kind of cross crawl here, a little bicycle movement. Maybe you're on a cruiser bike, taking in the sights, the sounds, the beauty. And then coming back to center, let's lower down through upper body and just rock through the hips one way, the other way. And then from here, taking right ankle over the left thigh in a figure 4 shape. Once again, hands behind the head, and we'll exhale toward the right. Again, waking up through the obliques. Just a few times here, you're probably feeling some warmth generating inside, some of that core strength waking up. And then just to center, legs just as they are, just lifting upper body up and down, right towards center, dropping the twist. One more like that. And this time lowering down, we're going to thread the hands through and find a supine figure 4. And just allow yourself to find some micro movements. You can use the hands behind that left thigh. You can use the right elbow to the inside of the right leg. And then finding your sweet spot. Maybe it's a uncomfortable sweet spot, but finding a place to breathe into your right hip, wherever you feel this in your body. Again, we don't have lungs that extend down into our hips, but we have that capacity to breathe intentionally into the body, and that creates change. Beautiful. Let's switch it out. We're going to take left ankle on top of the right thigh, hands behind the head. Inhale, center, and exhale to the left. Inhale, we open. Exhale, contract. And then we're going to take it right to center. And then we'll lower down, taking the hands through, threading behind the right thigh, left elbow to the inside of the left leg. And your choice, you might find some micro movements left to right. You can use the hands and draw the legs a little closer toward you. Finding the place where there's that working level of sensation. Waking up the body. Magnificent. We'll unwind here, this time taking hands behind the knees, a few rocks on the spine. And then we'll rock up and over the shins, coming into tabletop. Take your time getting there. And when you arrive, just some free form breath. Let yourself really arrive with the experience that you have generated thus far. What's awake in you, what's needing to be known. Right? This whole journey of yoga is like having a conversation with your body, and the body speaks in feelings and in sensations, and then becomes the guide for your movement. So that's what we're attempting to facilitate. Not so much that you're going to do what I do, but that you're going to listen to you. And I will offer some guided movements again. And if you'd like to join me, here's one option. I'm going to invite once again that side body action as we turn and C-curve, and we'll pause on one side for a moment. So I'm taking my hips to the left, my left shoulder to the left, even my left ear, my gaze goes to the left, squeezing that side body in. And then let's take it to the other side. Right hip, right shoulder, right ear, even the eyes. Give it a loving squeeze. And then back to center. And now we're just going to go side to side. And maybe you bring the legs in. You might lift the opposite foot. I always think of it as trying to catch that tiger by the toe. Just give that toe a little loving nod. I see you back there. You could even let the breath get a little more vitality in this one, vibrancy. And then coming back to center. From center, an invitation to take that right foot behind you, extend your left leg long, and we're going to lift up into gate. So here in this shape, we're going to lean over toward the left side. You might keep that right hand down, or you might lift the right arm up overhead. Beautiful. It's allowing yourself to greet whatever's present for you here. You might gaze down, you might lift your gaze. Maybe the arm reaches up a little more, it's up to you. And then we're going to come up and over. right hand plants. And this time, maybe stepping that left foot slightly behind as you begin to open up through the left shoulder. And it's up to you. You can be on the palm of the right hand. You might even lift onto the fingertips of the right hand, and then maybe extending that left arm up or even slightly behind. So here's our first heart opener, again, by request, right? Just allowing yourself to feel how we can get that tether, that connection to the core, and now that supports us to open a little more across the chest. And then slowly, coming all the way around, we'll find this on side 2. So I'm gonna turn myself all the way around for a moment so I stay facing you. So this time it's the left foot that's coming behind, right leg out, and we'll lift all the way up, finding our way into gate as we're leaning over toward the right leg, giving that a little squeeze into the side body, a little love in there. Maybe you gaze down, forward, or up. And then we're going to come up and over, left hand down, either the palm plants or maybe you lift onto fingertips. Maybe that right foot comes just a few inches back behind you. It'll create a little more room as you lift open through the heart. So the left hand presses down to create that structure that then the heart has a foundation from which to lift. Maybe the right arm reaches up or even back behind. And then slowly, slowly around we go. And meeting back in a tabletop. From here, an invitation to either walk your knees back or your hands forward, depending on where you are on your mat. And then to begin to come into Anahatasana. This is the heart chakra pose. The Anahata is the heart chakra. And we begin to descend the chest forward and down. And I like to lift up onto those fingertips again. It creates some buoyancy in the armpits as we lower the heart down. And your chin might descend down, your chest might descend down. Some of you have the range of motion where you're gazing forward. Maybe it's your forehead down, just listening to what supports your body, your spine. And we're opening through the back side of the heart in this shape. Sometimes the heart chakra is described as having a front side associated with the giving aspect of our hearts, our love, our compassion. But the back side of the heart is associated with receiving love, receiving nourishment. Sometimes that's the harder side. And then slowly from here, we'll lift back through to tabletop. And then allowing your toes to curl under. And we're going to lift the knees. And we're not quite going into downward dog yet. So you'll see I've got a lifted knees. Sometimes in the primal movement world, this is called quadruped position, right? So you're like a little bit like an animal that's prepared to go in any direction, right? You've got your wild side integrated in this shape. Knees are bent, elbows can be slightly bent. Anna Forrest calls this turbo dog. Whatever you want to call it, doesn't matter to me. It has an intensity to it. So allow yourself to greet the intensity to the shape. There might be a little shake in the muscles, feeling that potential energy rise up within you. Let your breath rise to meet the shape. And then when you are ready, we will lengthen into a more traditional dog. You might need to lengthen your stance a little bit. And even here, listening to your sensations, make it yours. You might bend one knee and the other. I personally like to twist my hips a little side to side, breathing into the side bodies, the intercostals, and then those knee bends here, like you're walking your dog, breathing into the back of the leg, the calf. Beautiful. I'm going to offer up a variation in this one. I'm going to tuck my shirt down for a moment. My variation on this one is we're going to shorten our stance just a little bit. And then we're going to take the right hand under the body to the left leg. And there's a twist in this shape. And if it's too much to do that there, just finding a twist from your tabletop, right? So you can find the variation of a twist that works for your body. But if you're going for the active twist, we're gazing underneath the left arm, hello, right? You're taking a hold of your left, side of the shin or ankle or maybe foot. And then that right hand can actually be active, the right arm, to really draw the body into that twist. And then let's let it go. And we'll take it to the other side. If you need a break for a moment, just let yourself stop into table, let it go. Maybe child's pose, always an option. And we'll find side two when you're ready. Taking left hand under the body, gazing underneath the right armpit. And just allowing yourself to let that left arm be active, facilitating a twist. The hips are resisting the twist. So this is a challenge, right? And knowing your body, you might be right here receiving a more passive twist, and that's just as valid and beautiful and perfect. Letting go, releasing the twist as you're ready. And from a downward dog, this time taking your feet, walking forward and finding a ragdoll. So feet can be nice and wide, hip widths apart, knees nice and bent. You might take your hands to opposite elbows. Maybe you nod your head, yes, shake it, no. Maybe you sigh something out once again. You might take hands to floor and just let the upper body hang or onto a block, right? Whatever is going to nourish you in this first forward fold. Are you rocking side to side? Are you finding stillness? Maybe you scrunch your face up. Maybe you stick your tongue out. Right? Letting something go. And I'll offer up an option to roll up to standing today. But if rolling is not conducive for your low back, you're going to come up with a long spine. If you're rolling up, it's allowing your knees to stay bent, pressing into the feet, and slowly, vertebrae by vertebrae, lifting all the way up to standing. Maybe once you arrive in standing, rotating your shoulders up, back, and down. Maybe going the other way, up and forward. Lovely. So arriving for just a moment in stillness, feeling your feet on the ground. Maybe a hand on your belly, a hand on your heart. And I'm going to offer this next movement with the feet hip width. If you want your feet together, you know your body. I'm going to draw the arms up and invite you to take a hold of one wrist. Again, doesn't matter which side you start with. We're doing both sides, and we're just going to lean over, right? Just allow yourself to find that squeeze in the side body and the kind of related opening in the opposite side. Maybe your gaze is down, forward, or slightly up, listening to you. And then let's switch it out, lifting to center, taking the opposite wrist and coming up and over. Squeezing into the side body, reaching long and open in the upper side. Lovely. And back to center. So here is where our strap might come in handy. And this is an invitation to create a rather small loop in your strap. Now, if you're using something that doesn't loop, don't worry, I'll show you an option without a loop. So I'm going to show a few options here, and I'll give you a moment to create your loop if you're doing that. So the purpose of this next practice is to really open across the fronts of the collarbones. And when we have a loop, we're going to take our hands behind our back inside the loop. And we're going to turn the palms down. So we're rotating the upper arms and the thumbs are away from each other, okay? In this position, an invitation to draw your shoulders down away from your ears and to just drag the hands away from each other. Now the strap, of course, is going to prevent your hands from widening too much, but we're creating that sensation across the front of the collarbones. Now, if you have something that doesn't loop, no worries. You're going to create that same position of the hand rather close on your strap, and you're just going to pull in opposite directions. So whichever version you're doing, wonderful. Really going to feel that sense of spaciousness right along the fronts of the clavicle. And we're not jamming the shoulders down. We're really using that widening of the hands to create the space. All right, we're going to let that go. Now you might need the strap for the next one, or you might let it go. We're going to interlace the hands now at the base of the sacrum. Pardon me. And if your hands don't clasp, then the strap is great here too. But this time, we're going to keep the elbows bent, and we're going to really focus on looping the shoulders up, back, and down, bend through the elbows. And so allow yourself to just feel that lifting of the crown of your head. You might begin to lift your connected hands away from the sacrum and back. Again, elbows stay bent. You're pulling your hands away from each other, again, as if you had that strap looped. But you're resisting that pull because the fingers are connected. And then from here, with connected hands, an invitation to forward fold, Yogi Mudra. Now again, your knees can be bent, feet hip width apart or wider. And you can loop your shoulders away from your ears, bend through the elbows, drawing your connected hands away from your sacrum. This time it's up towards the ceiling. And then slowly, by way of your sacrum, release your hands down to the earth and just let yourself hang here for a moment. Kind of like an orangutan, just to let your shoulders roll, right? No resisting of gravity. Oh, let it go. And then a little tone in the body. Inhale, finding a halfway lift. And exhale, planting the hands. We can step back to a plank. I will invite knees down, long spine as you descend down to the earth. Once arriving here, some rolling cobras, just finding your way in. You get to choose how much weight in your hands. whether you use your hands at all, and how much lift of your upper body. One more in your own timing. And then allowing yourself to find a sphinx. So the hands come forward, this time elbows underneath your shoulders. And in this position, the action is using the forearms to drag the heart forward. Drag the back of the head back. The chin drags back. It's like the ears are tracking in a straight line back. And just feel that subtle opening between your sacrum and the base of your skull. Now we'll invite you to open the elbows wide, to descend, to rest your forehead on your hands for a moment. This is crocodile, and maybe you rock your hips a little side to side. Beautiful. We'll come back through, hands underneath shoulders, inhale, moving either through a tabletop, a plank, a child's pose, your way back to downward facing dog. And you can explore how much of the traditional downward dog you'd like versus that turbo dog, right? You get to play with the degree of intensity in any shape. This is the playground where we learn to meet intensity, to not avoid it, to not reject it, but also to not force it upon ourselves, right? You get to back out into gentleness, into softness, into just this breath. And if it feels playful, enlivening, to greet a little bit more sensation, a little bit more muscular shaking and action, a little bit more of that instinctual intensity, then go there, right? It's up to you. And we'll make a transition back to the front of your mat, and you can pounce there, you can walk there, right? You can hop, however you want to get there. And once you arrive, taking a moment, a halfway lift. Then exhale to fold. And inhale all the way to standing, and we're going to move breath to movement. And exhale, side bend to the right. And inhale to center. And exhale, a side bend to the left. And inhale to center. Exhale, releasing the hands, clasping at the sacrum. Inhale to lift through your heart, maybe a slight back bend. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, release the hands, halfway lift. And exhale, planting your hands your way to downward dog, an option to go through plank to the earth, finding a cobra, skipping all of that. Maybe you go upward plank, low plank, upward facing dog, right? However you want to arrive, and maybe you went to child's pose, all valid. So our downward dog becomes a little place of familiarity where you get to assess what's my level of energy, what's happening inside. And then once again, when you're ready, a gaze forward, maybe a bend through the knees and a walking or a hopping to the front. When you're ready, inhale halfway. Exhale to fold. Inhale, lengthening to stand. Exhale to the right. Inhale, center. To the left. This is a moving meditation. Inhale. Exhale. This time just cactus through the arms to lift the heart. Inhale. Exhale, forward fold. A moving prayer. Inhale, halfway. And exhale. Hands, feet your way. Downward dog. And from downward facing dog, for a moment, an invitation to rest the knees and the hips back. Child's pose. Taking in the movement, the breath, the freedom, the flow, and allowing the stillness to help you arrive and assimilate all of that stirred up energy. As you trace your body with your awareness, that proprioceptive sense of where am I in space, you are locating yourself again. With this breath, just the inhale, just the exhale. And you can stay here longer, or maybe you join me and slither forward to the earth. Arriving here, perhaps taking your arms back behind you. We'll find variation here of locust, allowing your arms to reach back, fingertips reaching. For now, keep the tops of your feet grounded for just a moment. And then lowering it down, maybe taking your left ear to the mat, gazing right. And then chin to center. And an option this time to interlace the hands at your sacrum for this next variation. And of course, the strap is an option if you need that here. And then allowing your connected hands to begin to loop shoulders up, back and down, to open across the front of the chest. This time, maybe the feet lift as well. Finding the strength of the back body, even a little squeeze there. And then slowly release. This time, maybe right ear to the mat, arms by your sides. Maybe you rock your hips a little side to side. And then one more spine strengthener, heart opener. And you can do any variation, a cobra, the locust pose, or maybe you bend through your knees. Maybe you reach back and clasp the tops of your feet or your ankles. And then allowing your legs to kick into your hands to facilitate the lift across the front of your chest, opening the collarbones once again. And then just as we did in Sphinx, allow your chin to drag back, your ears to drag back. slowly let that one go, releasing to the earth, and then hands under your shoulders to press back into a wide kneed child's pose. Making your way back into this contracted shape after that big opener, and just let yourself wiggle in. Perhaps you take an arm variation here, placing palm to palm, and then drawing the thumbs toward the back of your neck, the nape of your neck right here. And if you'd like one more variation, which is to lift through your head, maybe your elbows walk slightly closer, and to then bend the knuckles of the thumbs and simply allow the inner edges of your brow, the line here at the bridge of the nose, the inner edge of your eyebrows, to rest into those knuckle creases of your thumbs. It's a gentle massage, and if it's too intense, lighten it up, right? And just feeling that prayer. What has brought you to the mat? What is your own personal suffering or relationship to this collective human journey? And how do you embody your relationship to that and simultaneously find some of that transcendence, that visionary capacity to see the big picture, to trust in something that we can't always see? And then slowly unwinding. We're going to come back to downward dog. Your pacing, your timing, bringing that wisdom center with you as you press back. And from this shape, allowing yourself to inhale, freeing your right leg back and behind. And exhale, stepping forward into a low lunge. So first time here that we're really getting into the legs in this way. And you might take a moment just breathing in and out of your lunge. And this is where I find that having some blocks can be helpful. And if you don't have blocks, that's fine. Just finding your range of this. We're going to bring that back foot slightly closer and invitation for pyramid pose. So pyramid pose, the legs are like a little triangle, like a little pyramid under you, right? And the hips, the sacrum get to be a bit more stable here. So we want to draw that right hip back. We're really grounding into both feet so we have equal standing in our feet. You can work with a long spine, as you see I'm doing here, or maybe you bow over that right leg. Maybe you move with the breath. And then an invitation to take that left foot a little further back. We're broadening our stance out again, and we're going to come from the ground up into an extended side angle. So this time taking that left hand to your left hip, and you might draw your tail feathers back behind you. So you're leaning your upper body forward a little bit, and then we're tucking the right hip underneath as we open up through the left shoulder, maybe arm up overhead, or reaching towards the crown of the head, past the crown of the head. We're going to keep that real strong stance in the legs as the left arm reaches back behind and lifts you into a warrior two. So in this shape, maybe exploring just a little bit of how you can feel that the upper body has freedom and the lower body is greeting intensity, very likely, right? So just allow yourself to really feel strong in the legs. You can squeeze the feet towards each other. You can press the inner thighs away from each other, but the upper body has a buoyancy. Maybe you gaze over the right fingertips. And we're going to reach away, this time lengthening the right leg, feeling that opening of the side body. And exhale, long reach through the right fingertips. Your block is there if you'd like it. And we'll come into Trikonasana triangle pose. So we had our pyramid shape with closed hips. Now we've got triangle with open hips. And just allowing yourself to rotate upward through that left shoulder, reaching the wings of the heart. You might even lean back slightly as we did earlier in that gait, just allowing yourself to feel the strength of the legs, the stability of your core as you open through the heart. And then from here, a little bend into the right knee. We're going to come back through warrior two. We're going to lengthen both legs. So at this point, I'm going to bring my blocks to the other side because we're heading in that direction. And with both feet facing forward, taking a moment here to find Prasarita. This is a wide-legged forward fold, and you can find your way in, hands to your hips, a little bend in the knees, and coming into a fold. You might take your hands to the earth. You might even grab one of those blocks and rest your forearms there. Whatever supports you in this shape. You can slide a little side to side, let your head rock. Let something go, let your voice go, sigh it out. Orangutan your shoulders. And then we're going to bend deeper into the knees and we're going to toe heel the feet in slightly. The heels now are in, the toes are going to be out, and we're going to sink the hips. So I'm in a kind of high squat, and you can think about the hips here being about knee height or even a little higher if you prefer. And you might slide a little side to side. You can even figure eight through your hips. Just allowing yourself to even balance a little bit. And with that right toes facing forward, we're going to bend deeper into the right knee. Now, you might stay high. I'm going to show the high version first. So I'm lifted up high. My hips are still knee height or higher, and just stretching into the inner line of the left leg. If you want to take this deeper, you might widen your stance a little more and come into Skandasana, which is a deeper opening line for that left leg. And you might not need deeper, right? You might say, I was just fine where I was. Listen to your knee, listen to your legs. And we're just coming into a half squat on the right side and the inner leg line on the left. Good. And we're going to use this stance. We're going to gaze towards that left foot. Maybe your blocks are over in that side of the mat. And we're going to shift all the way around forward into lunge. Familiar shape. And just a few breaths here. Maybe your blocks assist you. Just greeting the lunge shape on this side. And then we're going to drag that back foot forward just a bit, finding pyramid on side two. Maybe you start with a long spine, really greeting back of left leg, trying to close off the hips here as we maybe imagine that you could balance something on your sacrum here. It's nice and organized and supported. Maybe you fold forward over the left leg or find a few undulation waves through the spine. And then we're going to slide the right foot back, finding your way into an extended side angle from the ground up. Taking right hand to the sacrum once again, maybe allowing yourself to really reach back through your tail feathers. Allow your upper body to come forward a little bit. And then we drag the left hip underneath as we rotate the right shoulder open. Maybe the right arm lifts towards the ceiling, maybe overhead. Once again, you can drag the feet toward each other, really feeling the strength of your lower body. And keeping that power, that empowerment in your legs, begin to let the right arm lift you up into warrior two. So we've got this real strong, maybe intensity building in the legs, and we've got some buoyancy, some freedom. Maybe you just fly your wings for a moment. Feel that freedom, feel that capacity to kind of move in any direction, to be able to respond to what's happening around you. Even as you stand inside of something strong, right? Maybe your heart's beating in this moment stronger than usual, and that's okay, we're greeting it. Inhale, let's lengthen through the left leg, let's reach away. And exhale, long reach, 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 rotating into Trikonasana triangle. Maybe the arm reaches here. Again, fingertips expanding into the realms of potential as your feet, your left hand firmly grounded into the reality of this world as it is. And here you stand in between. And it's in this place, in the in-between, that we create change. Slowly, slowly, slight bend in the left knee as we lift up, finding a 5-pointed star. Feeling that capacity, that expansion. And then perhaps bending through the arms, clasping behind the back once again, or using your straps, elbows bent, opening the collarbones as we fold forward, knees slightly bent, and maybe the arms lift up. Hanging your head here, just soft, open, fluid. Again, you can wave a little side to side. You can rotate your shoulders up and away from your ears this time. You can drag the hands as if trying to pull them apart, and simultaneously you're using the fingers or holding a strap. And then soften hands by way of the sacrum down to the earth. Bending through the knees, we're going to toe heel the feet back to that high squat position. Maybe you bounce a little bit here, just greeting this shape. And then we're going to shift toward the left. Maybe it's a high lunge, right? Maybe your hips stay nice and high. Perfectly good posture right here, lots to work with. Maybe your hips descend, maybe you flex through that right foot and you crouch down inside. And then slowly, we're going to come from this shape. We're going to gaze forward to the front of the mat, and we're going to make our way there. Back where we started, stepping right foot back to meet the left, downward facing dog. And then a slow sauntering walk to the front of your mat. As you arrive there, a little bend in your knees and your way up to standing, long spine or rolling up. Beautiful. I have just one more little standing sequence and then we're down on our backs. We're going to start this out with a balancing shape and I'll show options. So we're going to find a balance in a figure 4. And sometimes balance is facilitated off of the mat. I like to stand on my cork floor. Sometimes it's nice to hold on to a chair or a windowsill. And I'm going to invite this one with the legs hip width apart. You can find a little bit of that bounce there. And then sending your weight into your left foot. Option 1 is to work, and I'm going to show this from the side. I actually have a bit of a bend in my left knee, is to work right here. This is a lot. There's a lot going on in this shape, okay? If you're wanting to take this further, again, keeping that knee bent on the left side, we're going to take the left ankle across, finding a standing balance in figure 4. Now we had this shape on our backs. Now we're in a different relationship to gravity, quite different. And as you greet the intensity, and I want to show this from the side, as you greet the intensity in your legs, in your right hip, I'd like to invite you to open up through the collarbones, through the front of your heart, through your wings of the heart, your arms, your fingertips, through your face. Really feel that opening as you descend into that left leg. Maybe you lift out a little bit. Ooh, there's a lot going on. Maybe you're shaking. I am. That's a good thing. And then slowly, whoo, pressing into that left foot all the way up to standing. Maybe shake it out for a moment. Whew. Beautiful. Well, let's find side 2. Bending into the knees. Wading into your right foot. Maybe from there, you're lifting your left leg. And this is a beautiful place to stay, right? I've got that knee bend in the right side and everything's working. It's shaking, right? And then maybe left ankle crosses over the right. You could take a moment with your hands here on your left thigh, on your right ankle, deepening in. But then the invitation is to open up in the midst of the intensity. There it is. All the big feels happening. All the stuff we don't have control over. And we're open to life anyway. And slowly, slowly pressing into right foot, descending left foot to the earth, and inhale, sweeping the arms. Exhale, forward fold. Inhale, halfway. And exhale. I will invite for today to just bend the knees and settle yourself, settle your hips down onto the mat. Once we arrive here, I'll invite a half Gomukhasana. What that basically means, Gomukhasana is cow facing pose and it's a hip opener, but it's an invitation to take the right bent leg, the right knee kind of folding over the thigh or up above the left knee. And then you can draw the left heel in, right heel in or away, right? So it's in the yin tradition, this is called shoelace. Sometimes it's a nice image because it feels a little bit like you're tying your shoes. And we're going to take this with the long left leg today, just allowing yourself to find a long spine. And settle in. Maybe you begin to round over, softening through the upper body, listening to your legs. And then slowly pressing up, lifting up. And we're going to plant the right foot on the floor. So now the knee is more lifted. And a gentle seated twist toward the right. Nothing forced, right? Just allowing yourself to, even without hands, find the range of motion. And then plant the right fingers down. Left hand can be on the knee, or maybe the elbow comes around. Maybe your gaze follows behind your chin, your eyes. And then unwinding the twist. We'll switch it out, extending the right leg. Half Gomukhasana. Left knee stacks over the right. You can move a little bit of the flesh from your sits bones out to the side, just feeling that supportive base long through your spine. And walking yourself forward, long spine, rounded spine, listening to your body. And then slope, lifting up. This time we're grounding down through the left foot, finding that gentle twist, again, maybe without the hands, and then just hands are there for support. As you take the chin around, the eyes around, lengthen through the spine. And then softening back to center, both legs out in front and with bent knees, lowering all the way down to the earth. And a moment here as you arrive to just check in with your body. Are there any final movements you need to even yourself out to complete this practice? Movements that are maybe a posture that's familiar and known, or maybe taking you into a shape that has no Sanskrit name at all, right? Just a feel-good moment, like an animal that's just stretching, yawning, and naturally settling down. Maybe giving yourself one tight squeeze, and then extending legs long, arms by your sides, and softening into sweet stillness. Receiving the support of your mat, the floor beneath that, the earth below, that's got your body, that's got your back. Really taking in the nourishment after a very active and moving flow. To let all of that integrate through, to locate your body in space and time. To find the place where there is only now. There's only inhale. There is only exhale. There is only this moment. There is only breath. And in that breath, you can rest while your head and heart work their relationship out. So I invite you to rest here, to stay here as long as you would like. And for those of you that are needing to or are ready to transition on with your day, beginning to wiggle your toes, your fingers, to draw your knees in. Maybe you rock a little from side to side or on your spine. And if you would like, perhaps transitioning back up to sitting, as we will close our practice together. And perhaps bringing one hand over your heart, another gently caressing, or palm to palm, whatever serves you here. Tuning into your why, what brought you to your mat today? And what are you taking away? It is truly an honor and gift to be a guide for you in your practice. Namaste.